Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Today, I'll be reacting to all of my atrocious predictions that I made for the World Cup qualifiers in UEFA, group by group. Now, I know I got a few of the groups correct, but I also know that many of the groups aged like absolute milk. Some of them, though, to be honest, I forgot what I said. I filmed this video almost a year ago when the draw was released. I thought I would do an updated prediction video, but didn't really get around to it, so these were my very early thoughts as soon as each of the groups were announced. Please don't forget to leave an early like and subscribe if you're new, as there is so much World Cup content on the way. All right, so let's start with Group A. Like I mentioned earlier, it's Germany, Slovakia, Northern Ireland, and Luxembourg. Of course, we could see a surprise in this group, but it seems to be a no-brainer that Germany will be the ones topping it. Now, in second place, I'm going to throw in Slovakia. Now, I won't be fully surprised if I'm wrong. I wouldn't rule out Northern Ireland just yet. I am going to put them at third, though. Throughout recent years, this side have been going through some questionable times, but now they actually have a very exciting young generation on their hands. But I do think they need some more time for their youngsters to develop. Maybe in the future they could be a threat, but for now, I see them just falling short in this campaign. Jeez, why do I look so out of it in this video? Looks like I lost my soul in this recording. Thankfully though, so far 100% correct. I need to take groups like this, as it's only going to get worse from here. I know some people refer to my last matchday prediction video where I did say Northern Ireland had the chance to sneak through to second, and then when there was all this hype about maybe Slovakia pulling off the upset against Germany, not many people believed it, but still, the optimism was there. All the hope completely vanished out of thin air by halftime as Germany were up 4-0 and they won 6-0 at the end. So yes, my initial thoughts for Slovakia were correct. Northern Ireland, like I mentioned in the video, do have a very exciting young squad, and they actually very much deserve all the credit here. They had some very good fights throughout the campaign. To be honest, Slovakia did just scrape through some games, like the first time they faced Luxembourg. But credit to them, unlike Northern Ireland, they were able to defeat Germany, and we'll see how they'll do in the playoffs. Germany looked quite doubtful at the beginning where they picked up their only loss to Slovakia, but obviously that statement victory at the end, what a comeback result. After many close encounters throughout the campaign, they'll be a talking point going into the World Cup once again. In a more positive note, we'll see if they're somehow cursed. They've been grouped twice in a row, but to me, they're looking quite good, and they were haunted with some injuries, so maybe they'll look even stronger by the time the tournament rolls around. Voltemada has been a superb addition. Really curious to see how he carries on with the national team. Other than that, not much to say for this group, honestly. The expected happened, and Luxembourg put off even less of a fight than I thought they would sometimes. Don't worry though, the next group will be interesting. Let's move on to Group B now. 3 countries starting with the letter S: Switzerland, Sweden, and Slovenia, along with Kosovo. This to me is a group of life. You can make cases for any of these countries, but I think the safest choice is to put Kosovo at 4th place. The other nations should not rule these guys out. They have some great individual players. One of the most informed ones at the moment is Zagrova. I used to have a lot more faith in these guys, but they were pretty disappointing in other qualifier campaigns, with some glimpses of hope at times. They definitely can throw off the other teams in this group, but I think at the end, they will still fall short. As with all the countries starting with the letter S, you can make great points for each one. Sweden, on the other hand, their attack is looking like one of the most dangerous in Europe. When you got the likes of Gyökeres and Isak up top, along with Kulusevski, they've proven themselves in the Nations League that they are a serious threat. Gyökeres at the time of this recording is one of the top goal scorers in Europe, and even was the top goal scorer in the Nations League. Despite Sweden not qualifying for the last 2 major international tournaments, they changed their management, and I think they have every reason to be positive going into this campaign. Switzerland disappointed in the Nations League, finishing 4th. We'll see if continuing to trust in Yakin is the right choice, but I definitely still would not rule them out. Maybe it's a bit bad to judge their Nations League results, as some countries just do not take the competition as seriously. But even in the Euro qualifiers, they did slip to the likes of Romania to not secure that 1st place spot. So you never know with this side. I will say that Sweden have what it takes to top this group, and they revived their form. Switzerland 2nd and Slovenia 3rd. What was this? What was this group? To be fair, I don't think any of you called Kosovo to finish 2nd. Maybe a few optimistic people from there, but I know if I was so optimistic for them, I would have been slammed in the comments. Instead, I decided to be optimistic for the side who looked to have the best attack in Europe. Well, this so-called best attack could not even score a single goal against Kosovo. Kosovo is a really good side, to be fair. I always talked them up in the past, but I usually was wrong about my optimism for them, so I decided to dial it down in this prediction video, as this group was quite tough on the surface. But Sweden were abysmal. They played some of the worst football I've seen from this nation under Thomasson. Considering the rivalry, I'd be surprised if they ever hire a Danish manager again. Good thing they shifted to Graham Potter, but he immediately picked up a heavy loss against Switzerland and couldn't even defeat Slovenia after. Sweden picked up no wins the entire campaign. If they were just going with the mentality of the fact that they had the chance to do this in the playoffs, they are in for a rude awakening. They do not look prepared whatsoever, and it's going to look to be a long 4 months until then. Maybe Sweden can somehow shock everyone and Graham Potter can be a hero redirecting this nation. I know they beat Italy in the 2018 World Cup qualification playoffs, but they are not playoff merchants like Poland are. A team like them that are in better form can easily knock out this side right now, like they did for the 2022 tournament. Sweden only giving Norwegians more reason to celebrate. But anyway, let's move on to Kosovo. I'm really proud of this team for how they continuously defy the odds. 2 wins against Sweden, a draw and a win to Slovenia. The only team they failed to beat in this group were the favorite Switzerland. I know I didn't predict Switzerland to top this group, shame on me honestly, but I did know going in that they were going to be considered the favorites early on. I just decided to be bold, and I definitely went bold for the wrong team. Shout out to Kosovo. Dua Lipa brought this side some good luck after gaining her 3rd citizenship. As yes, ever since then, the only team they lost to was Switzerland. Munic in between the sticks was fantastic, keeping the clean.
Thank you.
Aslani in the attack was sensational. This guy reposted and edited me on TikTok butchering this prediction. Kosovo is definitely one of the bigger surprises in this qualification campaign, but we got to give the biggest of props to Switzerland. I'm so sorry I doubted you guys. At the time, you guys were in a poor Nations League run of form. Things looked to be controversial under Yakin. Some people were saying he shouldn't be there anymore, but wow, he totally proved the critics wrong. Switzerland were by far one of the better teams in this qualification campaign. Actually, the entire calendar year, they did not lose a single match. I mean, Xhaka has still been going strong, and Bolo was the top goal scorer of this group. If they continue this momentum, they could definitely knock out some giants at the actual tournament. For Slovenia's case, they won out in their own style. They love to play for the draws. I thought they would at least be able to keep things more close than they did, but at the end of the day, I'm not surprised they fumbled. But they are the only standing I got correct in this group. Everything else was wrong. I'm an absolute fraud, and I know I'm going to look even dumber in Group C. Moving on to Group C with Denmark, Greece, Scotland, and Belarus. The only thing I feel certain about this group is placing Belarus at 4th place. The other countries in this group definitely have proven their worth more and on paper are much better sides. The rest though is too hard to say and can really go any way possible. I've mentioned in previous videos, but I think Greece are showing a lot of signs of improvement. Denmark are definitely the favorites to top this group, but I wouldn't necessarily say it's so sure. Scotland, like I mentioned, were great in the last Euro qualifier campaign. Going into 2024, I believe they were top of the group prior to them having to face Spain once again, as the first time they faced, Scotland were able to beat this side. Scott McTominay coming in clutch so many times for the national team, and now that he's left Manchester United, he's even proving himself very well at club level. The likes of Robertson and John McGinn are also difference makers for this team. Some gaps here and there in certain positions, but overall, I think that they are a threat, especially when they unify well. In 2024, they seem to be struggling in form though. Statistically, they were the worst team at Euro 2024 when you look at goal difference and their win-to-loss ratio. And besides beating Gibraltar in a friendly, they only just picked up their first win all calendar year against Croatia. Very tough to pick an order here, but I'm going to go against what many would consider to be favorites. I'll put Greece at 1st place, Denmark 2nd, and Scotland 3rd. Every time. Every single time I predict Scotland to do poorly, in qualification campaigns at least, I eat my words so bad. The way they did it as well in that final international break, losing to Greece, but thankfully Denmark also blew points to Belarus. All they needed to do was get a win against Denmark, who are not looking to be at their best. And with them playing at home, they took full advantage, scoring 4 goals, and all of them were bangers. From Scott McTominay's bicycle kick to a corner kick where I thought it went directly in at first. Denmark equalized, but then Tierney perfectly curled in a long shot in stoppage time. While Scotland wanted the ref to blow the whistle, McLean goes to score from half the pitch to make it 4-2. One of the greatest victories in Scottish football history. This is Scottish excellence, and I am so happy for you guys. Even though a lot of you guys don't think I rate your national team, truly, this is an admirable fight, and it's so nice to see Scotland finally qualify for their first World Cup since 1998. They've just shown the world why international football is unbeatable. I know most people probably went for Denmark to get 1st place, and I decided to be ambitious and go for Greece. Greece were an exciting team throughout this qualification campaign, no doubt about it. In fact, please don't take this as me criticizing Scotland. Like I said, I'm so happy for them. But the first time Greece and Scotland played, Greece actually played better throughout the match. But had horrible defensive errors, and Scotland very much capitalized. There are so many incredible youngsters on this team though, and I don't think they should lose sight. It was definitely ambitious for me to think that they could qualify for the World Cup for the first time since 2014. I think they just need some more experience and not really panicking under the pressure. They confirmed their World Cup exit way before the final international break, so it was a huge heartbreak. I thought they'd be way more neck and neck in terms of points with Denmark and Scotland, but no, third place with only 2 wins, and they couldn't even defeat Belarus on the final day. Belarus turned up out of nowhere though, to be fair, on that final international break, getting 2 draws when it looked like they were going to go out with 6 for 6 losses. Although that Greece prediction was horrendous, at least I actually called Denmark to finish second correct. Scotland unfortunately have never made it past the group stage every time they were in the World Cup. Will history repeat itself, or will they continue to break records? Depending on their opponents, I actually think this team are very capable to do something this summer. Anyway, once again, big congratulations to Scotland. Excited to see your guys' fan base at North America. Group D now. I know most people are going to disagree with what I had to say about Croatia, but I do think they'll beat France, so they will be in this group with Ukraine, Iceland, and Azerbaijan. Oh my gosh, I totally forgot back then we didn't even completely know each of the groups. All thanks to the new Nations League format, so I predicted Croatia to be in this group over France, as I believe they could defeat them in the Nations League. To be fair, it was actually really close, it nearly happened, so don't slander me too much for that. But just to clarify, I want to make it clear right now, I would have predicted France to top this group anyway. I promise, unlike the other groups, I would have not gone so crazy on this one, please believe me. Trust me, I learned after 2022. At the end of it all though, I am still saying that they finished first place to automatically qualify for the World Cup. Ukraine have proven that they are still a top side, but they have been very unfortunate in 2024, finishing last place in their Euro group, the first ever team to finish 4 points at the bottom, as every side in that group shared the same amount of points. And then the Nations League, definitely an intriguing group, but they did fall short to second there. Some of their great talents though have been slightly declining in form, for example Zinchenko, and even their striker Dovbyk, who transferred to Roma, and that club has seemed to be all over the place this season. They're definitely still a talented bunch, and on paper look to be like one of the more complete sides. Form is temporary, so they definitely can throw off Croatia, but I'm going to be putting them at second place, meaning I'm going to put Iceland at third and Azerbaijan fourth. Iceland in some of their fixtures just randomly turn up scoring loads of goals, but I still think they have a bit of a defensive problem, especially when they come up against sides that look to be challenging on paper. Besides England. Okay, thankfully got this group 100% correct, besides the Croatia pick, obviously. I'm counting it as 100% correct. I don't care. I need to take what I could get. You got to give a huge shout out to Iceland, though. They put off some fantastic fights, despite falling short at the end. Like scoring 3 goals against Ukraine despite losing, thanks to their poor defense, and also drawing with first place France. Where in the other match, they only just lost 2-1 to them, and they were leading 1-0 at one point. Not enough, obviously, and the expected happened. Ukraine tried to play a 0-0 against France on that last day with their starting 11 containing 5 defenders and 3 CDMs, but as soon as they subbed on more attackers, France found their way. All they needed to do was get a win against Iceland. They got motivation from the Euro 2024 playoffs and sealed the deal. I gotta say, besides giving that shout out to Iceland, overall this group was quite tame, and pretty much the expected happened. Moving on to Group B with Spain, Turkey, Georgia, and Bulgaria. Unfortunately, I think Bulgaria are cooked. I think they're getting 4th place. What I think will happen is, although they are finishing 4th place, they will get loads of draws, which will definitely halt some of these teams from potentially automatically qualifying. Now, I gotta say, I feel bad for Georgia. I genuinely thought this was their perfect opportunity to make their debut at the World Cup. They have been so impressive lately, and although these other countries should not rule them out, Spain have already battered them on multiple occasions in the Euro qualifiers and the actual Euro tournament. Turkey also proved their worth against them at the Euro tournament in the group stage. It's the only side in the group stage that was able to beat them. I do think Turkey will finish second at the end, while Georgia get third, and I'm putting Spain at first, obviously. Managed to get this right, but no surprise. Some people were going for the Georgia upset for them to get the playoffs, as Turkey are a very inconsistent national team, and they did suffer some heavy blows throughout this campaign. But I think they picked themselves up very nicely, scoring loads of goals straight after that demolition from Spain, and actually nearly defeated Spain on that final day. I know the match didn't matter so much at the end. Turkey needed to score 7 goals in order to qualify for the World Cup directly, but still they played very, very well against a Spain that actually fought hard in that match. Yeah, they still had some injuries, but they still played a very strong squad. And Turkey got this result against Spain while they had some players banned from that whole gambling scandal. Also was decided to rest many of their stars. They implemented some new players that didn't previously get the chance in the qualification campaign, such as Deniz Gül, who ended up scoring against Spain. So I think Turkey are definitely a strong contender in the playoffs, but obviously we'll see how things go and their actual path. But UEFA, please Stop pairing Spain and Georgia to be in the same group. I'm so tired of seeing this fixture. They've beaten them 7 times within the past 4 years. I don't want to see it anymore. Please give Georgia some new opponents. They're a good side, and they shouldn't always have to be tested against the best national team in Europe at the moment, at least suggesting towards the Euro success. Moving on to Group F with Portugal, Hungary, Ireland, and Armenia. Portugal, without a doubt, are the easy favorites, given their squad on paper. Given their manager who loves qualifier campaigns, Martinez has proven it countless times with Belgium and now the Portugal national team. Now, who's securing that playoff spot? I gotta say, Armenia have definitely been very much of a mess. They sacked the Ukrainian manager Alexander Petrokov after the country's poor performances in the Nations League. Despite finishing second in their group, the point difference from them and Macedonia was too much. We'll see how they progress going forward, but I think it's gonna be 4th place for them. Now, between 2nd and 3rd, I think it's gonna be close. Most people are going to be favoring Hungary, though. They did slightly disappoint in the Euro tournament after so many people said that they would be the dark horse. They were on an unbeaten streak until the friendlies prior to the tournament, and one of their friendlies scheduled was against Ireland, where they lost. Regardless, the nation is still backing Marco Rossi from his previous achievements. This side have not qualified for a World Cup in so long, though. Judging off of the Nations League results, I definitely think it could have been better. Yes, they were in a difficult group, but they got battered once by the Netherlands and Germany, both times when they had to travel away. Meanwhile, Ireland and the Nations League definitely on paper were not in as difficult of a group, but they still lost to Greece head-to-head twice and got destroyed by England on the last match day. They were able to defeat Finland head-to-head twice, but they were both narrow results. There's no denying, though, that we are waiting for this side to kind of evolve their golden generation of players. They have a phenomenal goalkeeper, one of the best backup goalkeepers right now in the Premier League, Kelleher. Troy Parrott has been getting some solid numbers for Alkmaar this season. Evan Ferguson has somewhat left the spotlight as he's not starting so much in the Premier League, but still he's very young. Do you know what? I think anything's possible in this group. I think Ireland might be able to sneak through to that 2nd place spot. They've already proven themselves recently against Hungary as well. Oh wait, I actually got this one right. Ireland, thank you. I knew I was on the fence about it, but I totally forgot my initial thoughts were for them to prevail. Thank you, Troy Parrott. This guy is the best number 7 of this group, let alone this entire qualification campaign. I know I made a random short later where I did change my mind, but as you can see, my initial thought was for Ireland to pull through. You gotta give this side so much props, as no one, absolutely no one, believed in them after that loss to Armenia, even the Irish themselves. Anyway, even though I got my initial prediction right, which I am very proud of, I gotta laugh at myself for this recent short I made as well. These countries could miss the World Cup next year. Some of the teams in UEFA only just started playing, but you get the sense that some are already out of the race. For example, Ireland, who only picked up a point last week, failed to beat Armenia, who have been in horrible form. I mean, the only countries Armenia got a win against in the last 2 years were Latvia and Kazakhstan. But Ireland's biggest problem, unlike Armenia and Hungary, they have not faced Portugal yet, and they are already last in their group. Oh, they haven't faced Portugal yet. Troy Parrott does not care. This guy being injured in the first stretch of the qualification campaign was obviously a huge blow, but now he's one of the countrymen's biggest heroes, and he's had one of the best performances in the Ireland national team shirt we have seen in such a long time. Hungary really thought they were through on that final day after they were 2-1 up against the Irish. But of course, as we all know, Parrots usually deliver perfect replies. Troy Parrott scoring 5 goals in the last 2 matches for Ireland, the most 2 decisive as well. They were at rock bottom and they climbed to 2nd place. Although Portugal qualified for the World Cup deservingly so, it was not a surprise at all that they did. So for me, this was very much the highlight, just the fashion Ireland did this in. What a story from them. Now, we'll see if Ireland can prevail in the playoffs, but if they do, let's not forget that this country have qualified for 3 World Cups so far and have never been grouped in their history. So expect big things from this nation if they pull it off. I do kind of feel for Hungary though. It's been so long since they played at a World Cup. And let's not forget, this national team used to be the best in the world before most of us were born. It would have been a glorious moment for them to qualify for their first World Cup in 40 years. And truthfully, they fought really hard. That Ireland result just came out of nowhere. Szoboszlai, despite getting knocked out with his nation, you could tell he was one of the most hardworking players on the pitch in this group. Varga as well, I feel like not a lot of people talked about him. He was the joint top goal scorer of this group with Troy Parrott and Cristiano Ronaldo. Now for Portugal's case, like I said, no surprise at all that they topped this group. The only huge controversy for Portugal is, do they play better with Ronaldo or not? Because yes, this guy is one of the greatest players of all time without a doubt. I know I just said Troy Parrott was the best number 7 in this qualification campaign, but yeah, throughout history, Ronaldo is the GOAT in Europe. But it's weird is, yeah, he scored a decent amount of goals in this qualification campaign, 5 to be exact, but he made a costly move in that match in Dublin where he got sent off, wasn't available against Armenia, and Portugal just happened to get one of their best wins in history in that match. Granted, it was just Armenia, but still, 9 goals doesn't come around that often. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Personally, I think it's a bit too quick to judge just off of one game, as Ronaldo really was excelling even in the Nations League. He scored in nearly or in every single match in that run to the final. So I'm not going to judge too much, but I also don't think he is the player for the national team anymore. I think once he retires, Portugal are in very safe hands. But still, I know I made some recent videos roasting Ronaldo for that Piers Morgan interview. I don't agree with a lot what he said there, but I still really do respect him as a player. I still do want to see him give it his best at his last World Cup, so truthfully, best of luck to Portugal. This group and what Ireland were able to achieve, honestly, is the reason why we love football. Unless you're from Hungary, of course, but this is one of the most remarkable turnarounds we have seen in quite a long time in qualification. Now we move on to the groups of 5, starting off with Group G. We have the Netherlands, Poland, Finland, Lithuania, and Malta. I'll give my thoughts quick on this one. I think we'll finish in this exact order. The Netherlands are one of the strongest teams in Europe on paper without a doubt, but I'm still not fully convinced Koeman is the perfect man for the job. Given the quality they have on paper for the back line, I expect a bit better from this side. Poland also have a defensive problem. They haven't kept a clean sheet in 11 matches at the time of this recording. The squad's definitely changing as well. Lewandowski is only getting older. Szczesny has already retired internationally. Still definitely one of the better teams in this group. I just think that they will go into the playoffs instead of automatically qualifying. I could have gotten this group 100% correct if I switched 4th and 5th place. And the crazy thing is, I looked to be right until Malta lost to Finland. This was with Teemu Pukki's final match for the national team as well. What a horrible way to go out. Finland were far from impressive. Their only somewhat respectable win was against Poland, but at that moment in time, Poland were going through some serious problems behind the scenes. Shout out to them, they did not lose to the Netherlands once throughout this entire campaign. 2 1-1 draws, and honestly, I think they're on some good momentum right now, and they might be one of the favorites to qualify via the playoffs. I call them the playoff merchants because they've been there in the last 2 qualification campaigns and prevailed both times, which is why I think they have a good chance of succeeding once again based on experience and the form they're in right now. Honestly though, Malta were up to something in that last international break. They defeated Finland and scored 2 against Poland. And in terms of the Netherlands, they had some huge highlights throughout this campaign, like Memphis Depay becoming the top goal scorer of all time for the national team. But my opinion overall hasn't changed too much for the Dutch. I think they are a fantastic side and should be considered one of the favorites at the World Cup. But under Koeman, they aren't looking to be their best. Yes, they had moments where they scored loads of goals, but the fact that they couldn't even beat Poland once. They also had a cagey affair with the minnow against Lithuania, conceding 2 to them. Yes, of course, they had some 10 out of 10 performances, but I don't think this was the most challenging group. Against their more challenging opponent, they could not defeat once, like I said. So, I don't know. Let me know what you guys think about the Netherlands. Maybe I'm judging them a bit too much. They can definitely have a deep World Cup run, but if they want to win silverware, I still don't really think they're at that stage. I know it seems a bit bizarre they scored loads of goals and had some dominant displays, but just my opinion right now. We'll see how well that ages. Let's move on to Group H. This is an incredible group, as we're going to be seeing at least one of these countries qualify for the World Cup in quite a long time. Bosnia is the latest team in this group to play in the World Cup in 2014. Austria and Romania have not played since 1998, and Cyprus and San Marino have obviously never qualified for the tournament. I'm going to say that the bottom 3 finishes as San Marino last place, Cyprus second to last, and Bosnia in 3rd. It's hard to judge Bosnia's recent form under their new manager, as Babadas has only been at the helm since the Nations League campaign, and their group was very difficult as they were in League A. But they had one of the heftiest defeats in the competition. I really hope I'm wrong about Bosnia. This is the side I want to see top this group. And you know what, they have what it takes, but I do think in recent times, Austria and Romania have more to prove. Both these countries actually qualified for the Euro 2024 tournament, while Bosnia were second to last in their qualifier group, and in a pretty easy one as well. Austria topped their Euro 2024 group over France and the Netherlands, one of the deadliest groups in the competition. They did get knocked out to Turkey though, so you know what, I would not be surprised if Romania kind of throws some tactical game to throw off the Austrians. Romania in the Euros we saw love to play some defensive football. Romania in the Euro qualifiers also caught their group off guard, topping Switzerland in it. They were able to grab loads of clean sheets. I really would not be surprised if they throw Austria off here, but I am going to play it safe. I think Austria are a very, very strong side, and they will be victorious over Romania by the end at least. Maybe they will beat each other once head-to-head, but in terms of the points, I think Austria have what it takes to overall get more wins. So I'm going to put them at first. Romania second. Bravo, Bosnia. Always predict the opposite for them, and couldn't be happier, honestly, for them to make it to the playoffs. To be fair, at this time, Bosnia were looking very, very poor. I don't really blame myself for not believing in them at the time, but they very much picked up form. So many clutch moments, but unfortunately could not prevail at all against Austria, which is what cost them, and on that final day, they drew to them. At least they beat Romania in style, though. So many great youngsters coming in for the team. I cannot wait to see how they continue to excel. I'm just a bit nervous for them in the playoffs, to be honest, because I feel like they found their momentum, and I'm not really sure how it will go with a 4 or 5 month break until the playoffs. Plus, they're definitely not seeded well in the pots. They will definitely have some tough opponents. They only were 2 points short from Austria, but huge congratulations to Austria for also qualifying for their first World Cup since 1998. That is 3 countries from UEFA that have not played in the World Cup for that long. No surprise, of course, they were the group favorites. Do feel bad for Bosnia, though. They were very optimistic after that win against Romania to get the result in Vienna. Basically a home ground for them. Only a draw, though, but it means Bosnia went in this campaign with only 1 loss, along with Austria as well. Romania, not as good, obviously, with 3 losses. Losing to Bosnia both time they played. A lot of people are definitely more optimistic for them after their Euro qualifier campaign. I was as well. I thought they would reach the playoffs. I mean, they still did with the Nations League ranking. I feel like Bosnia's spirits are a bit crushed right now, but they definitely should still be proud that they secured a playoff spot so early. I need to start predicting this team to lose more in order for them to actually pull through. Every time I'm optimistic about them, they crumble, and every time I'm critical about them, they flourish. Best of luck in the playoffs, Bosnia. And also good luck to Austria at the World Cup. Very underrated side under Ralf Rangnick. We'll see if they can continue the passion where they're building off from. Let's move on to Group I with Italy, Norway, Israel, Moldova, and Estonia. Will Italy fail to qualify for 3 World Cups in a row? They definitely should not take Norway lightly. Norway haven't qualified for a major international tournament since 2000, but Holland will be fueled to finally qualify for the World Cup. And Italy, in the last World Cup qualifier campaign, fell short to second place to Switzerland. Then, they got knocked out to Macedonia in the playoffs, as most of us know. I wasn't fully convinced with their Euro performances. I think both them and Croatia were a tad bit disappointing, but I think it's nice that they're giving Spalletti more time. He definitely deserves it. They have some informed strikers. Retegui has been on fire in the Serie A for Atalanta. Some of the best defenders, Bastoni, Di Marco. I still think they're one of the most complete teams, especially in this group. I still think that they will finish first place. Norway are still showing their inconsistencies under Solbakken. Over the Nations League, they scored a lot of goals, but also they lost to Austria 5-1. However, they bounced back very, very well, scoring 9 goals in total in the next 2 matches. They definitely have what it takes to catch Italy off guard, but for me, they are the perfect type of playoff team to finish second place. Now, Israel shouldn't be ruled out of this group, but I think it's safe to put them at third. In their deadly Nations League group, they put off some great fights, including drawing to France and beating Belgium on the last 2 match days. Maybe their standards are a bit elevated now that they had to face so many tough opponents. And their manager, Ram Ben Shimon, is definitely promising. However, I'm still going to keep them at third, and I'll put Moldova at fourth, Estonia 5th, as Moldova had a very impressive campaign in the last Euro qualifiers. Despite not qualifying at the end, they went toe-to-toe with some of the best national teams in that group, including defeating Poland, as most of us know. Only Israel right. Only Israel right in this group, mixing up first and second and fourth and fifth. I knew there was a chance I could be wrong on this. You cannot trust Italy these days in World Cup qualification. We all know that. Was I expecting Norway to be one of the best national teams by a long shot in this qualification campaign? No, not one bit. Scoring the most goals out of any team in Europe. Look at the leaderboards for the top goal scorer in the qualification campaign as well. Holland, the only player in the double digits, but still 16 goals. Odegaard, who was injured for some, was also the top assister. I'm sorry for doubting you, Solbakken. You have been cruising through. I know this wasn't the most difficult group, but still, some of the performances were absurd. First of all, the fact that they defeated Italy twice. I know that final match didn't mean much. I mean, Italy had to win 9-0. They even knew they couldn't do that, as Gattuso was criticizing the format prior to the match. But still, Norway had basically done the job, and they went on to win 4-1. Both times they faced Italy, they won by 3 goals. Holland scoring 3 goals total against what's known to be a more defensive side in Europe. But that Moldova match, he scored 5, and his entire team scored 11. The most one-sided match in this qualification campaign, Italy against that same opponent when they knew they had to break that goal difference deadlock could only score 2. Both goals coming at the end of the match as well. So now Italy go to the playoffs for a 3rd time in a row. And unlike Poland, they are not successful at this stage. In fact, they're horrendous, losing to Sweden and Macedonia already. And those comments by Gattuso, if you haven't watched my short already, he's saying how it's not fair so many teams from South America and Africa qualify. You know what, whether you want to downplay the other confederations, it's really really tough to compare all of them. And Italy just have no excuse. They have one of the best histories out of any national team in the world. 4 World Cups to their name, that's something only most nations can only dream of. The standards need to be up all the way. And maybe there's so much pressure that it's really getting to them. Honestly, I don't really trust Italy in these playoffs. Even if I predict them to pull through, I think everyone has the right to be skeptical for them. There's just no guarantees with this team, and Gattuso's so wrong to criticize the other formats when he can't even defeat Norway either time. And sure, they won their other matches, but it's not like they've been landslides. They were against some easy opponents. Like, they even nearly dropped points to Israel, conceding 4 goals to them. People think I'm just hating on the Italian national team because of what happened at the Euros. Yes, I'm still upset about that. But honestly, I'm only discussing you guys so much because there's so much to talk about. You guys are supposed to be so much better than this. Gattuso was known to have a tough mentality as a player, winning World Cups with his nation. Already is making comments as if Italy did not qualify for the World Cup yet. Moving on to Group J, we have Belgium, Wales, North Macedonia, Kazakhstan, and Liechtenstein. Belgium, without a doubt, have gotten a very favorable draw. But this national team at the moment are a bit of a mess, having emergency meetings to sack Tedesco, as the chemistry within the team is not at its peak form. Even at the World Cup prior to him joining, under Martinez, it was just all over the place. Some of their players look uninspired, their defensive options definitely look weaker compared to before, but their attack is absolutely dangerous. So if they don't fix things soon, I would not be surprised to see them slip to second place. But I think they will sort things out. This isn't a long time from now, so I'm going to keep them at first. If any of those other teams do shock to get that first place spot, I think the best choice is Wales. I'll be putting them at second. Now, of course, I'm going to be rooting for Macedonia in this group to push through. And you know what? They should be confident. And let's not forget their impressive World Cup qualifier campaign last time around, where, like I mentioned, they defeated Italy in the playoffs. And even getting to the playoffs for them was a massive achievement. They got very unlucky to have to face Portugal in the second round. These guys can impress themselves, so it would be cool to see them and Wales take first and second. But again, playing it safe, they're probably going to finish third. And you know what? I feel bad not talking about Kazakhstan at all. Their Euro qualifier campaign was insane, going neck and neck with all those teams. At the end, I think they're falling short to fourth. And of course, that means Liechtenstein fifth, the only country to lose to San Marino. Yeah, no other explanation is needed. I thought I was about to get this group wrong. Macedonia were undefeated going into the final match day. After all those hard fights, after even never losing to Belgium, they go on to get one of their biggest ever losses in history. I think it's time we start taking this country seriously. How did Wales go from only beating Liechtenstein 1-0 just days before to then doing that to the undefeated side of this group? Now Belgium became the only ones undefeated, and they qualified for the World Cup. Congrats to them, but it would have been a huge disappointment if they flopped, and they definitely had a few slips. Like I said, never being able to beat Macedonia, and they even drew to Kazakhstan. But they were suffering through some injuries and they had to adapt, so it's hard to blame them too much. This side definitely have a lot of electric attackers, but I still definitely think they're not at their best game. Obviously, there's a lot of talk about that golden generation from years ago. It's going to take a lot to build up to that again. I feel like they're not as defensively sound. Point gap was a bit too close in this group. I feel like they should have cruised through on their day. But of course, they pulled through. And for Macedonia, even though they lost to Wales 7-1, it's not the end of the world for them. They still secured a playoff spot because of the Nations League ranking. So we'll see if they can turn it around there. I mean, they already have motivation from the last time they were in this position. They had many thrilling fights and it was an admirable campaign. But it feels like it's all been forgotten now after that horrendous result. This group right here is absolutely insane that UEFA let it through. We have England, Serbia, Albania, Latvia, and Andorra. They should have learned that putting Serbia and Albania in the same group is an absolute mistake. But let's talk for this prediction video as if the fans will completely behave and nothing will go wrong. Serbia have some great individual players and they really should be excelling more given their standards. Mitrovic scoring loads of goals in the Saudi League. Dusan Vlahovic is definitely one of the better strikers in Europe. Incredible attacking options. They seem to be a bit lacking in the defense, but over the Euros they did impress in that factor. However, they are still sticking with Pixie, who's been there for some time, achieved great heights with this national team in terms of qualifying for tournaments, but once he's at the actual tournament, things do not go to plan. In the World Cup 2022, he played a very solid attacking game, but poor defensively, and it was the exact opposite in Euro 2024. There's definitely something fishy going on behind the scenes, as one of their veterans, Dusan Tadic, retired internationally, pretty much making it public that he does not get along with him. Albania, it's kind of a different story. Their manager, Solvinho, is definitely to be trusted. He's playing some fantastic football with this national team and has just been unfortunate in the draws, like the Euro 2024 group he was put in. Very underrated and passionate players. Right now, Savinho is taking advantage of that passion and actually having them perform wonderfully on the pitch. It's definitely going to be one of those two to end up getting that playoff spot. I think England are guaranteed first place. Say what you want about them in actual tournaments, but usually in the qualifier campaigns, this side pull through, and they definitely have the quality to defeat every single one of these teams. Andorra, I think, will definitely finish at the bottom, and Latvia at 4th place. Who to decide for 2nd or 3rd? I genuinely think it's a coin toss. Definitely arguments for both sides. Albania definitely is more confident in their management, but Serbia on paper look to be quite a deadly side in certain departments. In a perfect world, I would love to see both these sides get 1st and 2nd, but there's just no way that's going to happen with England in this group. One of them's getting playoffs though, and I'm going to say it's Serbia, who finished 2nd place. Albania falls short to 3rd. Okay, I know I got this wrong, but I am not surprised I got it wrong. Dragan Stojkovic, Pixie. Very good thing that he has gone from the Serbian national team, like I mentioned many times. This guy, throughout the campaign, was showing more evidence that he is holding this team back. And after that loss to Albania, he could not take it anymore and resigned. They looked soulless in that match. They looked uninspired. One of the worst Serbia teams we have seen in a very long time. Serbia failing to qualify for their 2nd World Cup since becoming an independent nation. Their only other time was in 2014. And now this side, even after playing a clean match against Albania, still falls short to them in qualification campaigns. What else can I say that I already haven't said before? Sramota Serbia. No excuses with the side you have on paper. Dragan Stojkovic still not utilizing some of their better players to perfection, and even not taking some of them in the squad. Didn't select Milinkovic-Savic at all. I'm disappointed in Serbia, of course, but they very much need to rebuild from here. I feel like they had a lot of false promises since that 2022 qualification campaign. Pixie stayed at that job for too long, mainly because of that amazing victory against Portugal. And the one thing Pixie was good at, qualifying this team for major international tournaments, he failed there as well now to their biggest rival. Albania, though, to the playoffs, what a feeling that must be. I'm going to be real, they did not make it pretty throughout the campaign, but they were better than Serbia, and that's what mattered. Many narrow results. Even on that final international break, they had a must-win against Andorra to ensure that they would top Serbia, and they only just squeezed through. Doesn't matter though, bravo Albania. If they pull through in the playoffs, they will qualify for their 1st World Cup in their entire history. And I gotta praise Slovenia one more time, because they weren't looking as explosive compared to the Euro qualifiers, but he's still undeniably getting the best out of this squad, and they're undeniably one of the most passionate teams in Europe. As for England, what a surprise that they topped this group. Not only did they top it though, they did not concede a single goal under Tuchel. Yes, 8 for 8 wins, 22 goals scored, and none conceded. The only time people were quite confused was when they only beat Andorra 1-0. Sometimes I had a feeling that they could maybe draw or even lose one match, but there was no doubt in my mind that they topped this group. But the final group we're looking at, Group L, which could be either France or Croatia, but I'm putting France to take on Czechia, Montenegro, the Faroe Islands, and Gibraltar. Oh my gosh, I have to be reminded of that Croatia-France pick again. For clarification, I would have picked Croatia to top this group, obviously. Will we see France score another insane amount of goals against Gibraltar? Probably. I'm definitely putting them at last place. The Faroe Islands can easily put off some good fights here. They never lost to Armenia in the Nations League, which is pretty impressive. They could frustrate some of these teams, but I'm going to put them at 4th, and Montenegro at 3rd. Czechia definitely have been showing their flaws, but overall, they should be handling this group just fine to at least secure a playoff spot. I'm putting them at 2nd, and France obviously 1st. It could have been perfect if it weren't for Crna. Montenegro completely fell apart in this qualification campaign. Losing to Czechia twice, okay, then Croatia 4-0, then the Faroe Islands 4-0, giving the Faroe Islands their biggest ever competitive victory in their entire history. Then they go on to barely defeat some of the biggest minnows in UEFA. On that final day against Croatia, they picked up an early 2-0 lead, but Croatia were probably just a bit hungover and slow from their celebrations of qualifying. They woke up from those 2 goals and had a glorious comeback. Absolutely love to see Vlasic back in the national team. He played in the last 2 matches and scored in both. But yeah, Croatia topping this group means Luka Modric will be playing in his 5th World Cup. Could have been 6th if they qualified in 2010. Could have joined Messi and Ronaldo as the only 2 players to feature in 6. And yeah, for the most part, Croatia cruised through this group. There were a few close calls. I thought they would slip once, honestly, just knowing them in qualification campaigns. But they only drew to Czechia once, and they were already in a comfortable position at that point. and prior they also annihilated this side 5-1. But now I know if people say this is an aging squad and they're on a decline just because they're looking at the likes of Perisic and Modric, you haven't been keeping up with the national team. It's as simple as that. Many great young players on the come up, and I'm excited to see what kind of squad they bring to North America. Czechia will be interesting to see how they adapt. They've been going through a bit of a headache themselves after losing to the Faroe Islands. Now they got to look for new management going into the playoffs. We'll see how they overcome that. But one of the most exciting stories here, we already talked about it a bit from the other teams, the Faroe Islands. The upsets they pulled off, not only did they pull off their biggest ever win, they also achieved their best streak in competitive matches, while most of this squad are working 9-to-5 jobs. Despite not qualifying, they told one of the most exciting stories in this campaign, so truthfully, best of luck to them in the future. Gibraltar still did not pick up their first win or draw. Obviously, no surprises there. So out of all the 12 groups, I got 5 out of 12 correct. Should have been much better. Did go for some good calls, but mostly I should be ashamed. A few close picks. I mean, the Faroe Islands swapping with Montenegro. Definitely wasn't expecting that. Same thing for Lithuania and Malta. I mean, if I got both those swaps correct, it would have been 7 out of 12 instead. But doubting Scotland once again. Highly praising Sweden and Greece. I genuinely feel like a criminal for all that. We'll see if my predictions get any better for the playoffs, along with the actual World Cup themselves. As always, let me know how you guys did in the comments below, and thank you all so much for making it to the end of this video, along with tuning into this entire qualification series for UEFA. Let me know if you want to see any other World Cup content to come. Take care. La Noche.